What is up YouTube, and welcome to this 8-bit Christmas review. Now this movie kind of came out of nowhere for me. I just saw it the other day online and I thought, you know what, I need to watch it because not only am I a huge Neil Patrick Harris fan, but I adore Nintendo games. It's also a very apt story as it follows the boy trying to get the new Nintendo Entertainment System in the 80s, recounting the story to his daughter. And as I was watching this movie, I was sitting and waiting for my Xbox Series X to be delivered after spending a year trying to get one so I can play Halo Infinite. We follow a father as he recounts a story of the arduous task of getting one of these legendary systems and some wacky stuff that happens, like it exploding when run over, as he does embellish a lot of the story, which was pretty clever. Telling the story to his daughter who wants a phone, and like all kids back then, he was desperate for a NES in 1988, which was the height of Nintendo fever, with Super Mario 3 on its way and Metroid a year old. Of course, we had the legendary Zelda games as well, and it's interesting that they didn't include a lot of these. The only kid who had one on his street was a gigantic D-bag who would let 10 kids in at a time to essentially watch him play and let him win. He is desperate to get one from the horrible little boy who is a constant composite of every 80s movie rich yuppie kid. However, not only is the pack that comes with the NES Zapper expensive, but supplies were limited back then because honestly time is a circle. He's downtrodden at school. We've got a school bully who is just literally a cartoon character of every rocker 80s kid. And, well, he is part of a family who struggle to make ends meet, so he is no way going to get a Nintendo Entertainment System pack. He is emboldened when the only one in the neighbourhood is taken away as the rich kid uses the Power Glove, which funny enough came out in 1989, not 88, and was pushed aggressively to kids after being featured in the 1989 Fred Savage movie The Wizard, which funnily enough back then featured the first footage of the most hyped game ever back then, Super Mario 3. It is a weird time as now we have pretty much Twitch streams and everything, and I still remember trying to see the Phantom Menace trailer back then when it was attached to movies. People were queuing around the block just to see, I think it was a Bruce Willis movie there. So yeah, time has changed. Now, funnily enough, Mario and the rest of the Nintendo games were actually missing from the movie. They were pretty much just played like Paperboy and other such fighting games as well. And we only got a brief mention of Zelda when Jake gets his light bright at the end. Now, he does get a chance when his scout group have to sell wreaths, which through the competition, he could win a Nintendo Entertainment System. But he enlists the help of his sister, who also wants a Cabbage Patch doll, which back then was gold dust as well. The last thing I remember to be out of stock just as much as today's stuff and back then stuff was the Tickle Me Elmo. I remember seeing on TV people fighting and hijacking trucks to try and get that damn Elmo. Now, the timeline issues are probably because Jake can't remember the year, as he says, probably let's go with 88, when the main manufacturer of them, Coleco, went out of business, who, funnily enough, actually had a competitor entertainment system, the ColecoVision. Yes, it's fine to not remember that. However, the competition is won by Jake, but he simply gets a booby prize and not the one advertised, as the rich kid's dog was killed and his father turns anti-video games and tries to prevent video game violence there, as the prizes were swapped for educational ones at a parents' meeting. The movie is actually really good. I was kind of like on the edge of my seat, hoping he does get the NES and he can play Zelda and all the other cool games. Luckily, they devise a plan to get one on a field trip, after Jake sacrifices his dream of owning one to help his sister get one from a scalper, boo, played by David Cross, which it seemed like he had a heart of gold, but he is scalping, so he is absolutely awful. It's a really fun plan, and this movie really does capture the fun spirit of those 80s and 90s kids movies, which you don't see much these days, but thanks to Stranger Things, we are getting somewhat of a revival. But it's all for naught as he gets it but slips, causing it to be crushed in the road and explode. Yeah, I would probably think like, hey, can't you just sue the shopping centre because they should have like gritted the pavement or something? And luckily he doesn't get one at Christmas. He gets a light bright from Japan, as he hoped his rich uncle would send him a Japanese one, which in my opinion it looked cooler as it was the Famicom, but they changed it to appeal more to the Western audience. Here he is stuck with nothing, but touchingly the true story was making memories with his dad and in the treehouse that he got him, which was really, really good. But I did joke, I was like, hey, this is just the ending of Hereditary when he goes into the treehouse. Running throughout was his fractious relationship with his stingy father, but he found something much better and he worked to get his console the summer later, which was a really, really good message. And this movie was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed watching this flick. I do recommend it. Probably give it about a 4 out of 5 there for you if you like your scores. Now, the movie was really, really a lot of fun. There were just some really, really cool like 80s Easter eggs, like I said, with the Power Glove, and it turned out that it was actually really, really rubbish, which was pretty funny. And of course, there was the whole thing with the Karate Kid when the rich kid was wearing that kind of like gi that he had, and he was obviously inspired by the Karate Kid. So of course he gets the latest thing or the latest trend because he is mega, mega rich. The movie was very, very much similar to Jingle All the Way, where notably, of course, you may have seen it already, and it is having Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to get the Turbo Man, which is one of my favourite Christmas movies of all time. And this does follow in the spirit of that, with a kid trying to get something, but for himself instead. It is a superb flick, in my opinion, and it really does, I think it did better than I expected it to actually be, having been a movie which pretty much came out of nowhere and I haven't seen many people talking about. But that is it for this video. Please drop a like down below. Do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.